Monday, April 3rd has been declared Mykah Montgomery Day here in the city of Oakland.
Right, she's being honored for her anti-bullying and children's literacy work through her Gift of Reading campaign.
Mykah Montgomery joining us live here in studio this morning. Mykah Montgomery Day.
Hi.
How does that sound?
When I hear it, it brings tears to my eyes. That's a big deal. It's a big deal, and I'm very humbled and appreciative of it. It's a lot of work that has been done, but it has been done for a purpose, for our children. So it's not so much about me in this day, in that just we want to rally around the kids so they know how important literacy is.
You know, I tell you a story, real quick. I've been reading to my two children since they were infants.
Yes.
You know, and it was a fact that my wife and I were going to do this. If she was working, I'm going to do it if I'm home, and back and forth. And I just had a conversation last night with my son. I said, I love to see just how confident he's become, and he wants to go read himself.
Yes.
But how important is, I know your mission is to encourage children to read, but it's also to encourage parents to read with their children.
Right.
That is absolutely right. And in the books that I've written, The Little Girl Who Wanted a Tale and Isaiah Wants to Read, I purposefully use large words so that the intimacy between the parent and the child is there. You have to explain these words to a pre-K to third grader, right?
Right.
But you figure if a child can pick up a profane word at age 4 and use it in context, they can tell you what motivation
Great
means.
point, yeah.
They just need to be exposed to that. So they're really designed to have that intimate relationship with the parent or the caregiver or the teacher and the child.
Talk about bullying, because bullying is something that, you know, has been around for the longest time. Do you think that if more people did what you did, it would slowly start to go away finally? Are we ever going to get a hold of this problem?
You know, that's a great question. That's a great question. A quote from Sharon Anthony Bowen says, "The biggest difference between being assertive and aggressive is how your words and/or behavior impacts the well-being and rights of others. A lot of people want to be leaders, they just don't know how." So by teaching these kids at a young age that the root is love and loving yourself first so you can then love others, I think by starting with that, we have a very good chance. We have a very good chance. I didn't learn how to be a leader until I was in graduate school. Why is that? Kids want the attention. They, you know, whether it's positive or negative, they want it. You figure bullies have people rallying around them for fear.
Right.
But if they learned how to be a successful or how to be a leader in a positive way, they'd have a roadmap on how to do that.
I find myself, through reading to my two little boys, I'm rediscovering, we blew through Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, the BFG, a lot of James and the Giant Peach. So there are a lot of what I consider new books out there, but I like saying, Mommy had her teacher read this to her when she was in first grade, and now I get to read it to you. Do you find that you're passing that on to your own little daughter?
Oh, absolutely. She's 12 now, so she wouldn't want to be called little.
Right.
She's a 7th grader.
Sorry.
Her name is Mylan, and yes, I shared with her all the books I liked. When I was little, I loved Dr. Seuss. There was my favorite book called A Panda Cake, and my mom would read that to me when I was very young, and of course I couldn't read, but I would memorize it. So I would come to her and I would say, "Look, Mommy, I can read."
Yep.
A Panda Cake was my favorite story. I loved Amelia Bedelia. All kind. I definitely share those shared them with my daughter.
And your daughter was the inspiration for your first book.
Yes,
Specifically,
she was.
what was the inspiration for you to write, to sit down and actually do what you did?
So when Mylan was about 6-ish, she had this fascination with tails. She would tie anything to her and say, "Look, Mommy," and she would only really harass me with it. She didn't want to show anybody else, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm lucky, thank you." But I started off as a journaling exercise, just documenting that she used to do that because I wanted to kind of embarrass her when she got older.
Sure.
But it evolved into so much more. It really did. It turned into a story that I could share with others that was centered around her journey of accepting who she was, whether that be different. She is loved exactly how she was created, and then she becomes a child entrepreneur in the book.
I love it. I love it. Well, Mykah Montgomery Day. Mykah Montgomery, thank you for joining us, bringing your gift of reading to us here on the 9. We'll be right back. I was all about Laura Ingalls Wilder and the Little House on the Prairie.
I
read those books.
My young children have memorized books, so if I try to pull a fast one,
They're like, "That's not it."